Street gospel, light of the temple. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One. And today we have a special guest for episode number... What episode is this, Cam? Episode number 15? Episode 15. If you caught episode number 14 with my man Damon Lujan, that was a really good, encouraging podcast. I mean, probably one of the best ones. And if I tell anybody or recommend any of my podcasts to listen to, you need some encouragement, you need some uplifting, a better perspective, I would say definitely catch Damon Lujan's episode. But today, episode 15, I'm a little excited because I tried to get this guy probably back in, I think it was the end of November, and then he had some family obligations, which I'm all game for it, no problem. But I got him. He kept his word. He came back out, and I'm excited. So, like I always have to do, I got to give small little intro music here, get it going before I announce him. So this guy right here, first of all, he's a believer. He's a father, a husband, an entrepreneur. I think he's a self-made guy from what I've known and read about him and been following him. Self-made guy. He lives in the San Gabriel Valley. Nice. Along the foothills. You can't knock living along the foothills. I mean, it's nice. I live along the foothills. It's beautiful. But one of the main reasons why I got him out here so he can discuss what he's doing. And it's big. This guy right here is running for governor. I know you've probably seen his gram, probably heard of him. He's been everywhere, up and down the coast, just getting the word out. So it's a very good thing we got him. But I want everybody to welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast, Mr. Major Williams.
Thank you for having me, man. Perfect timing. It all lined up.
All lined up, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I was, like I said in the intro, I was hoping to get you, man, and I think you have great appeal.
Thank you.
And when I first saw you, I was like, who is this guy? What is he about?
Right.
Because I think everybody's like that, right?
For sure.
Want to make sure we check somebody out. But appearance is everything,
absolutely,
too, right? It's what draws us in. Anybody that doesn't say that usually has bad taste or something.
Well, I mean, the same thing
like
for you,
that.
though. Even when I heard about the name of the podcast, the Street Gospel, I mean, for me, that was connection in itself as well, too. So great job with that.
Right. I mean, the Street Gospel is basically, it tells the story for itself.
Yeah.
A little bit of street, some of the gospel, the Street Gospel. I mean, that's what we're about. And I wanted to bring you on and just get to know you a little bit better, just introduce you to maybe an audience you haven't got to. And I know we kind of talked a little bit online and stuff and over a phone call. But I got a good connection to the street. I got a good connection to the church, to just a different vibe. And I'm not saying that you haven't touched that area, but I thought it'd be great to have you on. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Anytime I get a chance to kind of like share and create a dialogue with different audiences, right, and different podcasts, we have been all about that the last 162 days. Right, just trying to shed light, and so that's a part of the routine at this point, just trying to get the word out because you don't have to reach over 15 million voters, right? And so when someone says I haven't heard of you, I'm saying, well, the fact that we're talking right now, bow, you've heard of me, right? And I'm okay with their process. We have to be real patient, but we have to be aggressive and patient at the same time. So,
and I'll be honest with you, I mean, the last election for governor of California, I didn't know anybody that was running against Newsom.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to really search out and say who it was, like some business guy and then some random dude. And I was like, I've never heard of these guys. I mean, why are they running? Why are they wasting people's time?
Right.
I mean, to me, it was like, you're not out there, but I see you out there shaking hands, going different places. I think I even teased you because you were like, I got to get to Rancho. It's kind of a drive. And I'm like, you passing by my house going to Redlands a few times.
I'm waving at you literally, right?
Dave, I'm going to hook up with you.
No, absolutely, man. It's been a process. As I was saying earlier, my intention is to gauge the opportunity that presents itself right now. I was able to look at the candidates from before, just like you said, and I was just kind of like looking at what their productivity was. It's like it wasn't really impactful. It wasn't there were no memories created, no moments and situations created. And so from a candidate perspective, I said, what can I do better than those individuals? Not being a career politician, I have that against me or whatever, but I could actually use that as an advantage, which is what seemingly what's happening right now, that people like the fact that I'm not a career politician. Right. And so you get a chance to have a different kind of conversation with people. And so that's why we do things like this past weekend. I don't know if you saw.
I saw that.
I
wanted to go, man.
I did my first
plans.
ever campaign retreat. No one has ever done it before.
That was cool.
And what that is saying, instead of standing on the sidelines being frustrated about censorship that's happening with social media, in my pages specifically, is that I accept it for what it is, but what can we do to move past that? But what I realize is that people are still the most powerful social media platform ever.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like that with the church, right?
Yeah.
So I think the platform of social media has been great.
Yeah.
But I think now that the church got moved to pretty much online, there's something that you miss with the knocking on somebody's door, the personal interaction. And,
that's true.
And I think that's what I seen in you. I seen the personal interaction down at the Self-Made Training Center, different people. And I'm like, okay, this dude. And I like what you said. You said, I want to earn your vote.
Absolutely. And it's genuine. Like, I like meeting people. Like, I like being out there. I like earning it. I come from a sports background, so I've always been competitive. But another thing about me, early on, I wasn't good. Right. And I hated not being good. And so I was always one of those people out dribbling the ball late at night, playing in the rain, playing in the snow, working out, doing push-ups, and then coming back, eclipsing all of my peers.
Nice.
And that's what I did. Right. And so even in this industry here, which it is an industry, for the last 4.5 years, I've been figuring out how to add the most value and how do I master that versus other people when they get into this industry that I've learned is that they just like to exist. Yeah. I don't like to just exist. I want to be impactful, inspire, motivate, and also add value to as many people as I possibly can, especially when you have an opportunity to do it from a place of a good platform or a place of leverage. Right. And what better place for me to do that than being the next governor of California, because it's going to open up so many other doors, whether it's going to be something that inspires the next individual to run and do it, or just inspires them to go for that job that they feel like they typically don't think they're qualified for, right? So it opens up a whole different mindset in regards to what I'm trying to cultivate with what I'm doing. So good, man.
Did you, growing up, always have that perspective? Because I heard you grew up a little rough.
Yeah, I did, man. And I tell people about when I was 14 years old, my mother had a boyfriend. His name was Wolf. All our names, man. Right? Wolf. But the one thing that he did was he put me to work. So I used to sell car incense at the car wash, the local car wash, like liquid car incense. And then on the weekends, because I was the only boy in my household, I have 3 sisters. I did all the chores. My mom was just like, you have to do all the chores. And so one day,
were you the oldest?
No, I was second to the oldest. So I had 2 younger sisters. And so I would always rake the leaves.
So you had the older sister bossing you around.
Basically,
you had to do everything for the younger
she's
sisters.
She's sitting on the porch with some Kool-Aid, and I'm mowing the yard and whatnot. And one day, the next door neighbor, God rest her soul, Mrs. Pearl, she called me over and she was like, I give you $20 to mow my grass. And me as a 14-year-old, my mind is blown. I'm like, really? You give me $20 to mow your grass? I said, okay. And then I got the idea, you know what? I'm going to go and ask everybody else on the block if I can mow their grass also. End up getting a whole bunch of houses to the point I had to ask my cousin to help me. Bought a new lawnmower after like 5 months, so it was cool. So I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. Right. But subconsciously, that kind of translated into my adult life to be able to identify entrepreneurship, because back then you didn't really talk about entrepreneurship.
No, you just
did it, right? It's hustle, right?
Hustling. Yeah. I'm just trying to get some money. Yeah. I just want money to go to the store, go to the movies. Just give me a couple dollars.
Buy a hamburger and get a juicy juice.
I used to do that too, man. before school, go with my uncle. He used to be work for a lending company.
Yeah.
I'd be out there before school, 4 or 5 in the morning, laying out mats, picking up dirty mats, laying out mats at Alcoa.
Man.
You know, and but I got $25 for the weekend.
There you go.
And that was enough to buy a hamburger special and maybe go to the movies.
Absolutely.
And I was content.
And even to take it a step further, when I was in high school, I taught myself how to cut hair.
Oh, nice.
And so shout out to my cousin Gus, who, poor guy, who let me experiment on him the first time. So I did such a messed up job. We had to go into the projects where a friend of mine named Porky, he cut hair, and we had to let him fix my mess up, right? But that lets you know I've never been afraid to try something, right? And I was able to take that when I went off to college at Louisiana Tech University.
Right.
And I remember on the weekends I had a limit of heads I would cut, which is only $5 because it's $5 a haircut, right? I only need like $30 a party in Louisiana on the weekend, right? And I have like a line outside of my door, and I would literally cut off. Now I think about it, I said, man, I should have did like 40 or 50 hair, you know. But I was just a young kid, just taking advantage of that particular skill. But once more, figuring out a way to survive,
right?
And that's what it was about with me,
right. I think one thing is, you know, you mentioned your mother, your sister, your 3 sisters, and most people growing up, you know, in a poor community, kind of use those things as a crutch. You know, what is it with, you know, our culture that says, you know, you can't make it? I mean, because I love having people in here. You know, I have my brother-in-law in here. He was a gang member, got shot, left the gangs, became an attorney. Yeah. I mean, unheard of. But I love those stories. And he's just saying, just work hard. Yeah. Just put in the work. Just break away and put in the work. But a lot of people use their setbacks and I sometimes even excuses to say, hey, I don't have this, I don't have that. What is it why are we like that?
Well, you have to understand it does come from a sense of conditioning, right? A traditional way of looking at things or a traditional way of thinking, right? Say, for instance, like the welfare system. My mom was on welfare for over 20 years, but she looked at it as if, you know, the Democrat Party, they loved us because they gave us money. Right. And so for a kid, hearing that from your mother, someone you trust, you automatically kind of go along with it. Like, I guess they do care about us. Like, we can relax. Right. They're giving us a leg up, so to speak. But as you get older and mature, you get a chance to see that there's a ceiling when it comes to that as well. And it took me a long time to break away from that.
That's so key, the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because there's only so high you can go.
Only so far you can go.
Right.
It's only so far you can go. And once you have those limits placed in your mental, it's really hard to shed, especially coming up in those environments. So first of all, you're coming up in an environment where your circles are toxic, right? Whether it be your family and also your friends. So the only thing you're allowed to be poured into yourself are things that are going to hold you back, right? And so just imagine years and years and years of that cycling. That cycle of that thought process, coming into your fruition. But if you are lucky to step back sometimes and be blessed with angels, and that's what I call these guys that were placed in my life at certain periods of my life, that you can get inspired by them in certain ways, and you still have those bumps in the road, right? You bump your head, make bad decisions.
Still got to make some good decisions.
But I always make it a point to speak about certain individuals in my life that blessed me. One of them was my grandfather by the name of L.J. Dean. He passed away some years ago, and I always use him for the springboard of why I decided to run for governor. I'm the president of the New California Governor Committee, and the purpose of that committee was formed so I can stay politically active and engaged in the political arena after my run for mayor in Pasadena. So I was looking for candidates to get behind and support. Yeah. During this process, we were vetting different individuals, and it's like, I would come in with all this enthusiasm on what needs to happen to restore our state, and I was like, it's time to think major. Like I'm saying all this stuff, and literally after 7 different people I spoke to, 100% of the time at the end of it, they was like, Major, you should just run. Yeah, you should just do it.
You got your slogan already.
I said, look what you just laid out to us, and on top of what I did in Pasadena was historic. First time a black conservative Republican, openly supporting the president that they didn't like in a very liberal town.
Which is crazy because there's a lot of black folk in Pasadena.
No, it really is, and so it was disheartening to get so much pushback from that. But I still did amazing. I came in third. There was a running bet that I would get only 200 votes. No, it said I would get 100 votes.
Oh man!
So of course, me, being where I'm from, I'm always competitive. I said I'm gonna get 200 votes. I was determined to get 200 votes.
Right.
If that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward, I got close to 5,000 votes.
Nice.
and stole the voters block, right?
Nice.
And so they were basically looking at the success I had there, and then my presentation on what we could do together, and then, like you say, imagery, right?
Yeah.
I have a black wife. I've been with the same woman 20 years, 3 kids,
Congratulations.
self-made from the projects,
That's
awesome. Made good decisions, learn from those bad decisions.
Did everybody in the Street Gospel Podcast hear that? You know what I mean? So when we talk about, I'm talking to the audience out there. When we talk about not making it, when you can't make it, he came from the projects. I've seen his family. He has a beautiful family. He's been married for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Been together 20 years, married 15 years in February. Same thing.
It's unheard of though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nowadays, I tell
in LA County.
Yeah, I tell my wife. I tell people, me and my wife have been married 26 years, and they're
God
like, "What?" I was like, "But it's not unheard of." You talked about angels, people in your life, influence in your life. It's critical.
Yeah,
right.
Big time.
It's critical.
Big time.
I think a lot of people don't step up as fathers, or maybe uncles, friends, even neighbors. I mean, there's been kids when Cam was little, that little friends that would come over, and I just try to be their friend, speak into their life, be some
words
positive
of encouragement,
be some positive influence on them. How huge is that mentorship?
It's amazing, and that's why I was speaking on my angels, which is Darwin Brown, Roderick Howard, and Lo Andrews. Specifically, Roderick Howard was absolutely amazing. He worked for the Dallas Housing Authority, and this gentleman would probably travel like 2 hours to come to the projects and get kids like myself and get us together to go and play in church leagues. That's big. And that was amazing to take us away from that element, put us in different communities, like playing against Yeah. So it was amazing. But this one key moment defined my mindset, which gave me a different perspective on life. I believe I was 16, 17 years old, 16 years old. And he said that we're going to Denver, Colorado to play in a camp. With the permission of my mom.
Was it baseball, basketball?
Basketball.
Okay.
Basketball. So with the permission of my mom, she'd be like, yeah, take them. She was like, take them. And
no, this is when you're in Texas.
Yeah, this is when I'm in Dallas.
This is
a
whole nother world.
It's a whole nother world. So they want to take us to Denver, Colorado. And so we're excited. We're young bucks, and we go up there. So we're taking this big, this school bus type of thing up this big mountain. And we pull up to this camp. And I remember I had 4 of my other buddies, my teammates, with me. And we see people getting off the bus or whatever. And we looked at each other like, we're about to tear up all these guys, right? So we get all excited about we about to just run this whole town, right? So we get off the bus. And as soon as we step off, there are counselors there, camp counselors, and they separate us. They separate us all. Like none of us are together. Like I'm freaking out. I'm like, no, we're together. Like I'm getting like an attitude. I'm from the hood. I'm like, don't play with me, right? They're like, no, this is how it works here. Like just go with the flow. So I get to my cabin. I get to my room, and it's 3 other individuals. It's a white kid with red hair, an Asian kid, and a Latino kid. I put my hand on my head. I said, we're gonna lose every game, right? So I'm just like judging off the back, right? But if I just tell you the full scope of what happened, it ended up being the most amazing time of my life. I created some new relationships. I mean, these guys were just so amazing. Like they're playing pranks and stuff. Like in the hood, we're too cool to play pranks, right? We're doing all type of stuff. A guy put like a deer antler in my bed, like it's like all this crazy stuff. But one kid stood out in particular named Ryan. He had an organizer, and I'm looking at him like, what do you need an organizer for? Like a day planner, right?
At that age.
And he was just like telling me, because I'd never heard of it. And he was just telling me the significance of his day planner. Like, it gives him structure. And so, mind you, when I go back to the hood, guess what I had? A day planner. So shout out to Ryan. He gave me a little organization in my life. Right. But more importantly, it took me out of my element, showed me there was a different part of the world and different people that I haven't met before. And that's what eventually made me go off to Louisiana Tech University, which was like 4 hours away from Dallas, and around different cultures.
Right.
In my high school, there was only blacks. That was it. We had one Latino kid named Francisco, and that was my buddy. And that was it.
It's a trip about that. My parents, even for me, I'm 46.
Yeah.
So, but my parents told me, they never really left their neighborhood.
Yeah.
They didn't go outside their neighborhood really.
Yeah.
And us for the most part, we didn't either.
Yeah.
So when like you said, when you go to camp or you'd go somewhere else outside of your city, and you'd be like, yeah, it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of kids have a problem with right now, is that they don't see the big picture of life. They don't see the big picture that this world is a lot bigger than your 4 square blocks.
And that's one of the main pillars of what I'm hoping representing by doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Because one of the main things that I'm doing now is that I'm trying to educate voters and people in general in regards to making them understand that our selection process has been flawed and we've been tricked.
Yeah.
What qualified looks like doesn't necessarily have to come from what they say it come from.
I like that.
Right? It doesn't. We're living in 2021 right now, where you have an 18-year-old probably have way more money than all of us, right? Why? It's not because they went to college and got an education. There's alternatives that exist in this world, and I want to make sure that we put that out there in a way that people understand that. Because when it comes down to it, even like with our state right now, it's not about we are missing someone that's been in politics a very long time or a great manager. California is missing leadership.
Right.
They're not inspired. They're not motivated. No one wants to be the governor. No one wants to even know the governor. So why don't we have somebody come in that can unite and inspire somebody? First of all, it'd be history. I'd be the first black governor in California's history. That'd be global news. So that gives me an opportunity to make California business friendly and be more attractive for more people to come back and change the economy.
Right.
And there's so much more that we can do.
I think, going back to that, I was going to ask you, why put yourself through this? Obviously, you're a successful guy, boy, dad, see you with your sons, beautiful wife, all that good stuff. Why put yourself through the scrutiny of running for governor? I mean, really, because I'm looking at you and I'm like, I probably couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For various reasons, but one of the main reasons was because my wife would say no. You know what I mean? And then it'd be a lot of scrutiny on the kids. I mean, why? Why run?
It does take certain kind of individuals to exist in this space. But I use the analogy often is, when you ask the question to a boxer, why do you box? My answer would be, I don't mind getting hit. And I love to hit back.
Yeah.
And that's what politics is to me.
Right.
It's a place where I found that there's a lot of corny individuals that were never the cool kids that are now a part of an industry.
Right. And
they're pretentious and elitists looking down upon you as if you're not qualified or eligible to hold them accountable, even though their role and job is to be of service.
Right.
So I want to be the barrier breaker when it comes to that. I want to show them that it's easy to help.
Right.
It's easy to help.
Right.
And we as political figures drag things out. A great thing that someone said to me is Jamie Foxx. He said that California and Hollywood specifically is the land of the fast yes and the slow no. The fast, if you really want to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But what we get in California with these politicians is the slow no.
Yeah.
But the slow no is never no. It's like, oh, we're definitely going to do that. You're right. You absolutely. Yeah. Let's put a task force together for that. Reparations. Yeah, let's put a task force to talk about reparations.
It takes forever.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do it.
No.
Not that I'm advocating for it, but that's just an example.
Right.
Right? So when I just want to be I want to shed light and be that alternative.
Right. I always trip out on that, how we're like we talked about earlier. It seems like we're always tricked into, our culture, Hispanic culture, black culture, poor culture in general. You know what I mean? Is always tricked into voting a certain way because they're going to give us this,
Right.
they're going to give us that, and they're going to give us this. Instead of, your thing is, I heard you plenty of times saying, I want to empower people.
Yeah.
We always seem to get tricked into that and not empowered. I don't teach my kids, and I'm sure you don't teach your kids that they can't do whatever they want to do.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't tell Cam he's
Yeah.
going to play in the NBA because that's just not true.
Yeah.
But when he says, "Hey, I want to make my own video production," sure, let's
Right.
work on it. What do you want to do? Let's get it going.
Right.
So I don't wake up and say, "No, we need to wait for a handout, or
Yeah.
somebody's going to come and help you, or let's get this government grant or whatever." No, we're going to get out there and do it. What can we do? But why do we fall into that every time?
Well, I will put some of that on myself. If you are a candidate and you're vying for a job or a position, you have to be an effective communicator. You have to be a great candidate, and you also have to create. You have to present solutions that people buy into. The Democrats for a very long time have been able to effectively do that, right? So it's about not really caring about them more so, but understanding what you have to do in order to connect. And so me personally, I study everybody who do things great, even if I don't agree with them. And I've actually added those things to my DNA with my campaign, with my conversation, how I do my outreach, and then also the messaging that I use and the key issues that I'm working to solve. And one of the things that's resonating with people is that I let them know off the back, from a transparency perspective, there is no magic wand. And we're going to all be adults, and we're going to deal in reality.
Right.
And the key part of understanding what's happening right now is that this is not my campaign. If you really care about this state, you understand right now that you can change the narrative, and this is our campaign. And you have two tools and mechanisms. One of them is to jump on the recall efforts if this is what you want to do. The second is to make sure you support me in 2022 if that's the case as well.
Right.
It's just by educating them and just giving them a better alternative. But also, as you said earlier, you have to speak sometimes through your story.
Right.
I have a story.
That's what I love about you.
I have a story.
Story.
On all levels. I literally am the guy, and it's not me patting myself on the back, but I go into the projects even still, and I can talk to the kid with his pants sagging, and it's relatable conversation,
right.
And it's respectable conversation. But I can also go and exist with the soccer moms, because me and my wife, hang out with the soccer moms with our kids and activities or whatever.
The church.
But
the church,
I can go to the church, and
everywhere.
I grew up in the church. I wanted to be a pastor at 14, so I understand. I understand the church. I understand the procedures of the church. But also from a business standpoint, and being a marketing executive, being in entertainment industry, being in music, being in film and things of that nature, I understand how to talk to business people, successful millionaires, billionaires. I exist comfortably in those spaces, and they receive me well because I'm always adding value. And the reason why is because I'm a continuous learner, meaning that I'm always reading something.
Right.
I'm always putting something in my mind, in my mental, in my heart, so I can be prepared. It's possible, being someone that hasn't been a part of this industry. I know for a fact I have things working against me, so I got to be 10 times better.
Right.
That's why I'm more prepared, every single time. And that's why you see the imagery that we put out there. It's 10% of what we do. We're connecting with people big time.
It's huge. It's huge. I think that was the biggest thing for me when I seen you, is the connection.
Yeah.
I pride myself on connection. If you look at the podcast, there's different people from different platforms.
Absolutely. I've seen that.
And so when I do the podcast, I was trying to look for different people, and I pride myself in bringing somebody running for governor. And this is nothing for me, but I think it wasn't just going to be focused on one area.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this, or we're going to talk about that. It's going to be focused on a lot of different areas. And I seen you different places, talking to different people. Yeah. And I said, man, this is a good thing, because he really wants to earn this. And he's trying to connect with different people. The connection. Right. I know you mentioned you were in communications and things like that, and taking that, and you're a great debater. Yeah. I saw that on your website. How much does that pay off now that you were into that stuff, and just where you've come from? to meet that many people.
It pays off big time, but I've had to evolve even in my approach when it comes to debating, because you have to understand you're dealing with people's real life and their stories, and so they're actually engaging with you from a very emotional space. So with debating, you're talking about facts, right? But sometimes people don't want to necessarily hear those particular facts. So how do you effectively communicate? That's when I break out the story of relatability, right? Oh, I get exactly what you're going through. So let me tell you, the reason why I understand what you're going through is because I myself or I know someone else's story that relates and ties together. So I empathize with it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm listening. That's why I think it's important for you to understand that this is not my campaign. It's our campaign. And if you truly want to be heard and represented, you actually have to get behind someone who will be willing to at least do that with you.
Right.
And that's the conversation.
Simple.
That's the conversation.
Relatable. I've been there. I know.
And the great thing about it, it's not made up. I don't have an earpiece. I don't have a script anywhere.
You're not bringing out your phone to play a Mexican song over the mic, or saying you went to school with Tupac or whatever, right? You're not doing nothing like that,
it's
right?
It's 100% me. And me and my wife joke oftentimes, because I had a brief rap career. And she said,
"You know what? I was going to ask you about your brief rap career, man. So, what happened? What? How old were you when you started your rap career?
Oh my gosh, man! I did it for 10 years.
So there's got to be something out there. We're gonna find it.
It's out there. I have a Facebook group with over 155,000 people.
Really?
I put it out there myself because what happened was when I ran for mayor, it came out. And I actually put it out. I've actually said, "Hey, I did this. And I don't regret it at all. And that's why I let people know all the time, because what I'm trying to do, like I said, I'm trying to kind of re-educate us on our selective process because it's flawed, and also just make people make them look at themselves.
Hey, you was a young guy, liked music. What's wrong with that?
And mind you, they made that such a barrier in regards to why I can't evolve into the person I am today. And then you have to look at yourself. You really have to look at yourself. And we left. So I own all my content. So the things that they found, I left it up there purposely because it's going to allow people to talk about me.
Right.
There's going to be a percentage of people that's going to buy it. There's going to be a percentage of people that have never heard of me. But because of that, they're going to say, oh, and then they're going to go to who I am. And, oh, okay, well, you know what? I've done stuff too.
Yeah.
Perfect example. There was this candidate. He was in Kingsburg recently, and he was doing his whole spiel or whatever. Didn't connect at all. No claps. No nothing. At the end of it, a pastor or someone in the vicinity asked him, "What do you think about Major Williams?" Right? Because clearly they don't think he can win, and he says that, "Oh, he can never win." He was. Have you seen the video of him rapping? And the pastor said, "Wait a minute. So you saying, some years ago, so you saying that he can't beat?" He said, what I used to be, and this is a pastor. What I was a convicted felon,
right?
And I'm a part of a big church now. So he said, just because of that, I'm supporting this guy.
Yeah, I mean, we all have, something in our background, and I'm not saying criminal or nothing like that, but we were all young at one time.
For sure.
For sure.
And entertainment isn't the worst thing in the world. That's what I'm trying to it's like an action movie. It's entertainment. Making rap music. I started out making positive music. Knew that I couldn't sign a record deal with positive music, so I started making derogatory music, and then went back to the positive music, and then I was like, I'm over it, right?
And you were open to it.
Yeah. And the beautiful part about it, and that's when I was telling this one young lady, I said, you do realize that my ambition was to be the next Russell Simmons or Diddy. So when you see me doing music, as soon as you say cut, I'm back in a suit doing marketing executive deals, or I'm back working with my nonprofit, Major Kicks with Kids, giving away over 1,000 pair of shoes every single year. Right? So you can't box me in and say I'm that. I was so much more even then.
Right.
And that's the whole point of it. So I'm okay with that because I get a chance to articulate my story. Yeah. And it kind of debunks everything. So I use it. I use it as leverage to open up a dialogue and conversation.
Yeah, because if you're open about it, let's use the Eminem rap narrative from 8 Mile. What was his strategy? I'm going to tell you everything about me before you throw. When we battle, I'm going to tell you everything about me and put it out there because you ain't going to have no ammo to throw back at me.
You take all the ammunition away from them.
And then what do they have? Nothing.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Put it all out there, man. You just have to be able to gauge it, because some of these people can be petty and people can be trolls. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had so much love, so much support. Out of 100 comments, you'll see 1 or 2 negative little things, and they're probably like the same people creating other accounts. Like, this is a real movement, and I tell people, coincidentally, this is a hit record. My political career and our campaign is a hit record. We should be at 1 million followers right now. We do know that. We've been on 160,000 for the last 5 weeks.
I saw that. So you.
If I open up my phone right now, I'll show you his new followers right now. You just see them.
The shadow banning is real.
Oh, it's
real. It's obvious.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw the Project Veritas videos where they catch them saying, they're gonna.
It's not moving. And you see my notifications, and it says follow. I just did the Adam Carolla show. Tommy Learn posted me.
I saw
I
that.
got traction all over the place. If you look at my insights, it's traction all over the place.
It's crazy.
And yet, it doesn't move. I got screenshots of everything.
How important is free speech? I think people don't realize how important it is, because it's not knocking at their door.
Yeah. And I get that, because a couple of years ago, I myself was like, these are private companies. They can do what they want to do, right? Because I wasn't really fully invested in that way, and knowing the implications of how that truly does hold someone back. But I've always been for free speech. But now the free speech is talking about, is it warranted, or are you able to have that on these platforms that are existing right now, that are dominating, that everyone is on? Right. And right now the answer is no in regards to them censoring everyone, but it's something I want to fight for. I wish, the bills like the Section 230 comes out and becomes effective. I know that I'm going to work with whoever is going to work towards work against big tech when it comes to doing the right thing.
Right, because I don't have, I get the private, business thing. They're a private company. They can do whatever they want. I just want consistency.
Yes.
So if you're going to say, this guy that loves guns is on there and we don't like it, so we're removing him, but you're going to leave the Ayatollah up
and child porn.
And that stays up. That's a trip to me. How are you able to censor all this stuff that you don't like because it's conservative or whatever?
Yeah.
And this child pornography, somehow you can't get it off.
Yeah.
And
it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's and I tell people it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious now that it's almost like a joke.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, it's crazy.
Big time.
I seen you big on the COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the COVID things destroyed the state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many friends I know that are moving.
Yeah.
Actually, they're moving from where you came from.
A lot of them, right? And they say, no, take them back.
Yeah, they're moving to Texas. A lot of them are good people. I think they'll go the Texas route. But you moved. You did the opposite. You moved from Texas here, which crazy. But I got you. But they're moving out because it's just this state is just crazy. I mean, taxes. Just all the regulations. Like you said, no leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. My wife got sick, in the middle of December. We went to the hospital because she couldn't breathe. Couldn't get her in there. And I'm thinking, okay, because there was COVID patients there and it was packed, whatever. Big hospital. Right. And I'm thinking, where was the leadership of this state for the last 10 months?
Right.
To prepare for this supposed big spike in COVID cases.
Right.
Where was the leadership there? I don't know. So
the leadership was at their winery.
Right. Sitting there with no mask.
Right.
With a bunch of other people while we have to supposedly bunker down.
And they were busy negotiating, mask deals for billions of dollars with China or whatnot.
Yeah. I heard about that too. Yeah. And it's wild to me because we affected people, and I'm not talking just conservative people. I'm talking about
people,
entrepreneurs, business owners, the church, poor people, rich people, just everybody. And I think that's why that recall effort is huge. I mean, I was laughing and I took a picture of it. I shouldn't have admitted that while I was driving. On the 10 freeway, there was a spray painted in graffiti, Graffiti, recall Newsom.
Wow.
Well, the guy spelled recall wrong, but everybody laughed about it. But I tripped out on that because I'm like,
Right.
this guy is from the streets, whoever wrote that. I can tell by the writing. He climbed over that overpass to hang from over the 10 to write recall Newsom.
Wow.
I mean, when you get people in Newport and people in South Central LA off the 10, you know, in agreement on anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. Because what's happening right now, and, you know, I've traveled a lot. And I tell people, I said, for the first time in California's history, we are unified in the F word. And it's not the one most people think, right? It's frustration.
Yeah.
We are absolutely unified in frustration. It doesn't matter if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, a single mother, if you're wealthy, rich.
Right.
You know, we have the most businesses leaving California and families in record numbers in over a decade. We do have the highest taxes. We do have homelessness that has increased over the last 2 years, 16%. If you go downtown LA, it looks like a third world country. It's a public safety issue, a public health issue. And there is no inroads to any solutions or plans that are laid out that we can visually see to give us any solace, so to speak, any kind of like understanding of, okay, this is where we are, but it's going to get better. That doesn't exist. The only thing that's proposed is creatively, how can they tax us more and throw more money at the problem without the proper infrastructure? If you throw more money at the problem and it doesn't have the proper infrastructure, it's going to crumble once more. And just to touch on homelessness, one of the key philosophies that I have is that you cannot look at homelessness like a business. Anytime you look at something like that as a business, it will never materialize with the results that you're looking for because there's no checks and balances.
Right.
Only until you have leadership that's willing to look at it like a service. With services, it's a lot different. You have to give something and you're able to gauge that statistically through data, analytics, etc. And the whole goal is to get people reacclimated back into society. And that only happens if you have three things in order. One of them is re-implementing mental health hospitals.
Yeah.
Key thing, right?
Yeah.
The second thing is upgrading our facilities when it comes to drug and rehab facilities. Now, I tell everyone those two do not work if the third component is not there, which is wraparound services. Wraparound services is a model that I was able to take from working with nonprofits and group homes when I first moved out to California. For like 4 or 5 years, I worked in the nonprofits with group homes. When kids were 17, transitioning to 18, 19 years old, they had to have wraparound services. Why? Because they didn't know nothing. They didn't know how to go and apply for school or jobs.
So
or
the wraparound services is just people around you to support you.
It's an umbrella of services where it comes down to housing, when it comes down to giving you direction with relationships with trades, and also they will benefit because having a governor that is business friendly, that's going to open the floodgates for businesses to come back. One of the goals that we're going to do is, and I'll talk about this a little later, I have something that we're going to release. It's called the Restore California Plan. The Restore California Plan is going to lay out comprehensive strategies and ideals and theories that we are going to do under our administration, but still be an open playbook for suggestions, ideals, and solutions because it will be a collaborative effort. But the beautiful part about that particular plan is that we are going to start out with 4 corporations manufacturers. Okay. We're going to entice them to come back. Lessen restrictions, taxes, or whatever. Just come back. Right. Each one that we solicit, hopefully, is going to have 4,000 to 5,000 jobs per manufacturer. We know that 20-something years ago, we have grandfathers and great-grandfathers who worked in factories, had houses, had a good life for themselves. Yeah. So the whole theory of American-made is coming to California. I want it to be California-made. And so with these factories in place, it creates a domino effect. It's a ripple effect, right? More jobs, boosting the economy, the community gets better, people investing more, small businesses thrive because the manufacturers are in those businesses. And so you got to create an ecosystem. And the reason why it's not happening is because a lot of politicians lack imagination and they're not entrepreneurs. They're not creators. Me and my wife have to be creative every single month to keep the lights on, right? We're hustlers. We're entrepreneurs. We're grinders. We're small business owners. These guys are pretentious and they are educated. They're professional students,
right?
And now they're professional politicians, and so they don't know how to work and figure things out.
It's just a family business for them, right?
Yeah.
So their family's in it. I'm going to go into it, and what happens whenever the son or the nephew or grandson takes over? It's a little bit less in productivity because they're just used to it. It was a given; they didn't have to earn it.
And that's the difference about what we represent with our campaign. And I know with the Restore California plan, it's going to be a boost to a lot of people. We have a lot of components and elements that are going to be in there that's truly going to uplift and empower people. We want to hold people accountable. The tent cities, they will disappear under my leadership. But at the same time, the people are not going to be pushed to a side. We're going to have things in place to make sure that they are taken care of. We also want to give them jobs to clean it up as well, too.
Right.
And also incentives. A small little analogy in regards to how I see things, especially when it comes to homelessness. When you have like the lunch lines on Sunday and everybody lines up, right? I want to create facilities where you can't get in that line unless you go here in this luxury new facility that we created and take showers. Be clean. Yeah. Because a percentage of individuals, if you change the environment of their physical being and haircuts or whatever, they feel good. Yeah. It's psychological. That's what they're not understanding. It's psychological. And if we break through some of those psychological barriers, it gives us more to work with when it comes to rehabbing them, to get them reacclimated into society. Absolutely. Like they're putting Band-Aids on when it's much more deep than that. That's a deep wound. Yeah. So we have to get in there and work that out. And that's what some of the things and components that we're going to be working on doing.
I have some friends that are leaving the state because their kids are young. Yeah. And it's been bad. Yeah. And there's no end in sight. And so they're like, well, we're going to move to a state that the schools are open. Why doesn't Sacramento care about the kids, about the future generation? I mean, for years, we hear about the next generation or looking out for them. And it just seems our kids are to the wayside. I have small nephews and nieces that they've struggled with not being able to socialize, trying to do everything off this iPad. Yeah. And why doesn't Sacramento care, and how can we fix that?
I think it's just one of those when you're away from.
Well, they probably don't care because a lot of those Sacramento people have their kids in private school.
Well, they're away. They're unattached from it because they are not a part of it. So they're making decisions about a certain industry, about education, about our kids, and they have no equity in that particular space. They're just making decisions based upon assumptions or their perceived science, data, etc. I also would say that you have to put yourself in the mindset of some of these individuals. They absolutely don't think that they're doing anything wrong. Yeah. Right. It's crazy, right? Just being honest with your listeners and everybody, they think they're good people, right? Like they think they're doing the right thing. I mean well, and
but they're so disconnected,
and they're so disconnected, and that's why people like us and other people that are coming up, we have to take accountability to know that how we compete against that is being strong messengers and advocating for the things that we want, and also showing them the roadmap on how to fight. Perfect example. I started when I was running for mayor. In our city, it's not legislature, it's ordinances, right? So I would put together small little groups in my team, and we would learn how to write an ordinance, right? And then the process of getting a petition to get people to sign it. I'm already operating as if I'm a legislator or a mayor already, right? Just go bid, right? But what it does is it gives you all the signatures, all the data of the people who supported it. And so now you can go to all the council members and see if they'll sign off on it, endorse it, and sponsor and back it. Right. They can say yes, great, hallelujah, let's do it. But they can say no, and then I have to leverage and power because they have to run again. Right. And so because they said no to something that would be beneficial and valuable in what the people wanted, now we can use that against them and support the candidate that's going to be for it. Yeah. We have to learn how to fight differently. Right. And it's a long game sometimes, and you have to be patient, but it's possible. But if we're successful at it and we continue to do it, everyone's going to know that that's a knock on their door. Like, I need to figure something out on how to appease this audience.
Right.
Right. But we're not doing that,
So you would open school,
100%.
right?
100%.
I mean, the science is there. They say believe the science.
100%.
Okay.
The schools will be open. I think it's a travesty. I just recently went to Huntington Beach to Edison High School. They had a let them play rally. A lot of kids are upset about not being able to play, not being able
coming
to
from
go
a guy that
to go to school.
Was in sports.
Absolutely. And it changed my life. I needed that escape psychologically, mentally, everything.
That's what I've been thinking about, even with the inner city.
Yeah.
A lot of the inner city kids.
Yeah. No outlets.
That's their outlet, and a lot of them, that's their ticket out of there.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Whether it doesn't have to be a Division I school.
Yeah.
It could be a junior college. I have friends that go to small time schools, but they get educated.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, if this starts going into like the second season of a kid's life, they only got 4 years, and that's if you're good,
right?
Because
right.
that first year you're probably sitting on the bench on JV,
exactly.
And then you maybe work your way up to varsity.
That was me.
Hard work.
Amen.
But
I'm gonna tell you real
tough.
quick to touch on that. One of the main reasons why I became so vocal about that, I heard a story about a young kid. He was about to be a senior in high school. He was injured his junior year. Worked his butt off, got in tip-top shape, and was ready to dominate and work to get a scholarship his senior year. When everything happened, it didn't happen for him, and he went into a downward spiral, depression, anxiety, and someone he knew from another school ended up getting a scholarship. On social media, he saw that, but because of that, he committed suicide. And literally,
yeah, that's rough.
His heart, my heart just ripped out because of that. For a kid to be, these people don't understand the unintended consequences that come from these decisions. Yeah. And I've said that you can't govern and you can't be a leader with a one-size-fit-all perspective.
Yeah.
Because every section of our state is different. And I just take full offense when it comes to things like that.
Right.
And not understanding or be willing to do that and get on these TVs and do these interviews with a smile on your face and a smuck little look and a grin as if we don't matter.
Yeah. And I can go out and do it. And I can go to the restaurant. My kids are cool because they're over here and this county's open and we're fine. But, I'm thinking about the inner city kid that, school is kind of like a daycare for him while his mom goes out and works. Mom drops him off in the morning, goes and works. Maybe that kid stays after school for the after school program. Yeah. His mom's able to come after also the kid that goes to school, and that's all he has to eat.
Yeah, big time. What I mean? That's a big thing.
And with Common Core, I know you're anti-Common Core. Thank you. I didn't have to worry about that. My kids didn't have to do that. Thank God, because I'm terrible at any kind of math. But trying to learn online, trying to do all that stuff. I mean, a lot of parents, they don't know. They're not teachers. Yeah, and they're trying to do that, but it's huge. And like you said, if one size doesn't fit all, there's a lot. Not only the mental depression,
right? And I just want to highlight this. Even when Governor Gavin Newsom was allegedly apologizing, the thing that stood out to me, and I have a marketing background, so I look at everything as optics and messaging. He said that, when it happened, when I was sitting there, I was thinking I should get up and get back in the car and go home.
Right.
What you should have said was, I was at home thinking I shouldn't go. Yeah. Right? That's the real acknowledgement. Not when you're there, sitting there, because it's already done. You're there. You're there with no mask on. That thought should have started at your house before you got into your car to go out there. Right. And that went over some people's head. And I was like, how belligerent is this guy? Right. Right. And it's
blatant. Pelosi getting her hair done, blatant.
Oh, for sure.
It's just, I tell people all the time, man, listen, the rioting was cool, but you can't go to church. I've had that argument so many times, man. I go, how could you, people would say, well, it's outside, but there's thousands just side by side yelling, no mask. Right. We're going to church and we gotta we have a mask. We're separated
Right.
by 6 feet. You're only allowing so many people in.
And even the restaurants that are practicing outdoor dining, they have good distance. The workers are following protocol. Like, what's wrong with that? But yet we allow protesting. You know, the biggest slaps in the face is the one on Hollywood Boulevard.
Right.
When it was just like countless and countless and countless of
Yeah.
people that were together, and there was like no resistance. They were just like, this is what happens when, I'm like.
But we're having a super spreader because there's 10 people barbecuing in the backyard. You know what I mean? That's going to affect everybody. I had that argument so many times with people, and I couldn't get why. Just think logically.
Yeah.
Thousands of people side by side are 100 people in a 3,000 square foot building.
Well, so this is this is another thing. Let's talk about the recovery rate. We have the media that's promoting the increase in cases, and the ICUs have been full, but they're not telling the public that the ICUs sometimes only have 38 beds. It's easily to fill it up, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said a high percentage.
Because there's other things that people die of and get hurt from, and
they're not being reported.
Right.
Also, the recovery rate. And also for the age demographic of so many people is through the roof, right? It's 99 or 98.9% or something like that in regards. But they don't report the amount of people that come in those cases. They don't report the people who immediately go home.
Yeah.
They came in, they knocked them down as a new case, but they didn't say that, 3 hours later they went home because they didn't have any symptoms. They lost their sense of taste, or they had a cough. But they're not promoting that because it doesn't fit the narrative, and it doesn't go along with them, with their control to tell us to wear a mask. And now you have this mask culture, and the symbolism of it it feels like racism. And I'm going to tell you why. I didn't live through racism, of course, from back in the days. But if I was to kind of reenact it, it feels like it now, because the emotion that I feel when I see a person with a mask, I like laugh to myself, or I feel some kind of way about them wearing a mask. But I had to check myself on that. That's their choice. If they receive the same information that I received it and they process it differently, I have no issue with that. I shouldn't have any issue with that. So I had to check myself on that. The difference about what I just said, that sounds like a logical person.
Sure.
The difference is the people with the mask on, when they see me or you or anyone else without their mask, they're not able to process it in that way.
Right.
You're a super spreader. You don't care about me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do care about you. The information I'm going to give you, if you are sick, stay home.
Right.
If you are afraid, stay away. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask.
If you're susceptible to infections, whatever, stay away.
Stay away. It's a real simple solution to all of it. But yet you want to exist here. I had a woman come up to me. I was at outdoor church. Great service. And she found her way over to me out of all the people that were there. And she came up with her purple hair, so you know which way she was leaning. And no disrespect, I love people with that.
There's some old ladies with purple hair, man.
Absolutely. It's not going to put everybody in the box. But she came up to me, and she had her mask on, and she got like this close to my face, saying, "I can't believe that you are running for public office and you're out here not wearing a mask. You are disgusting." And I'm thinking to myself, you know that you're like not practicing social distancing right now, and you're saying that you care about this so-called mask thing. And so it's just hypocrisy all over. And I just pray on it, because we're getting pinned against each other, and our psychological mindset is going crazy because you have adults coming up to other adults trying to police them.
Right.
Like, when you're 16, 17, you can't wait to become an adult so no one can tell you nothing, right? It's like now.
I don't need a hall monitor when I'm an adult.
And it's just wild. And so we're in a different time right now. So I just want to get past it if we can.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like your willingness to work with both sides.
Yeah.
You made that perfectly clear numerous times when I've heard you speak. I think that's huge. And I think a lot of people, even now in the political realm, the big words, we need healing and we need unity now.
Yeah.
Right? Now that we're in power, this is what we need. And it's a tough thing because it's like, man, they're not really saying that. When I see them saying that, I'm seeing what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is you need to believe what we believe in.
Oh, that's it.
And say the things we say and do what we say. And
then
do
we
what
can
tell
find
you,
unity.
And then we'll get unity and healing. And that's never what America was built on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's definitely what we're facing right now. If it really was about healing and unity and bringing us together, they would speak out and denounce the censorship that's happening right now to a lot of conservatives like myself, and even President Trump, and other companies and individuals that they're doing it to, but they're not. So I just don't get the ideology of it, but I do get it because they've been very consistent in regards to their mindset and the things that they've been able to do for a very long time. But I'll tell people this, a lot of people always ask me right now, are you afraid about voter fraud? Like, I don't want to vote ever again because they're just going to steal it. Right?
A lot of people are saying that.
A lot of people, especially with everything that's going on right now, the transition that just happened. And I tell them, I say, well, what is one to do, right? If we want to change something, it would never happen if we're idle, standing on the sidelines of frustration.
Right.
You have to jump on the field, suit up in our political arena, and become a player no matter what, and affect our game politically as a player versus being a spectator. So you have to choose. Do you want to be a player or do you want to be a spectator? A spectator will ensure that nothing never changes. But as a player, you just never know. That next play may be your breakthrough. That next play, that next catch, that next shot, or whatever it is.
An anticipator or a participator.
There you go.
Right.
100%. And that's what I tell them.
You can use that, man. Don't worry.
I will. I'm going to coin that. I'm going to coin that. It's going to be on the new,
but
my next
But it's
t-shirt.
true. We got to make it. I mean, there is a lot of people, like you said, there is a lot of people that say, especially now, screw politics. Like this, it doesn't make a difference. My vote really doesn't count. But there's only one way to make the change. We got to vote. We got to get out there. We got to get the word out.
And for all the Christians that are low in morale, like, you just lean on your faith.
Yeah.
God is greater. I was at the beach the other day. I just took a bike ride. I was in Newport after my retreat or whatnot. The next day I was leaving, and I decided to just jump on the bike and just go for a drive before I came back home. And I was walking, and I was just looking at the magnificent ocean. And I was just thinking about the fact that this was created. Right. And I'm like, the politics of things that are happening right now is so minuscule and so small to what God can do.
Right.
Like, do you see what I'm looking at right now?
Yeah.
This is the ocean. Are you kidding me right now? What, this little stuff?
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is telling people to take advantage of this opportunity, because it's a lot of energy out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy that you can use for good. Even if you're frustrated and you're upset, use it, turn into a positive.
Right.
And that's been my message. So I just feel like God is greater, and everything happens for a reason. Sometimes you need to bump your head in order to get certain things. And I don't mind saying I told you so. Yeah. We can get to that point also. Right. But at the same time, it's awakened something in me. It's give me a stronger drive. I'm using it to be effective, and just get out there and go even harder. And I'm hoping that me doing that inspires other people to do that, or it just happens for them naturally. Right. And I think that's going to happen a lot across this state and also this country.
I noticed that you have been going to a lot of churches. Mm-hmm. How important is, you mentioned faith and the church now?
I think it's super important, because the church has been out of the loop when it comes to politics. And I want to make sure that they are in tune with who I am and what I represent. And I just want to check their temperature as well. And I've had a lot of love from a lot of churches. And the church is a huge community. The church is very influential, impactful, and powerful. And the church is a tool. And if used effectively, the churches can own how we vote. If you think about it, if you count the Christians.
Right. Isn't that why the Democrats fight so hard against the church?
Big time.
I mean, just the overall forces fight against the church.
Big time. They couldn't even talk about politics from the pulpit, and now they can. Who knows? An executive order may be signed tomorrow saying that they can't. Right? Because of that, because of their effectiveness, because of their congregation's loyalty to them, the church, the word, and God. They know that. They have to muffle that. They have to stifle it whichever way they can. But if they don't, they know that it's brewing and it's growing. And I've had a lot of support. There are a lot of pastors that have stepped up, who have been vocal about everything that's going on. There are a lot of pastors that have been kind of like on the fence as well. And that's their personal choice. But hopefully they get inspired to step up as well, too.
How did you come back to the Lord? I know you said you grew up, wanted to be a pastor. You got into the derogatory rap game.
Well,
I always tell everybody, like, I talk to young guys, right? And they're pro this, pro that, anti this, anti that. And I said, cool, man. You know, I was like you. You know, you want to be a rebel, fight the system, you know, rage against the machine, do all that stuff. But once you start getting a family, paying taxes, waking up every day to go to work, your perspective will change. You're a liberal when you're young, but you become a conservative when you get a little bit older.
For sure. What was that? What was the first question?
How'd you come back to the faith?
So I grew up in the church. Wanted to be a pastor at 14. I was one of those kids grew up in the South, so we had to go to church like 3-4 times a week. You know, and be there all the time.
Those days, man. Me too.
And so by the time I got to college, I was burnt out. So when I got to college, had my own little dorm room. I was like, I can wake up on a Sunday and not do nothing. Are you kidding me? And so that was like the beginning of me just kind of like shunning, you know, going to church every single day. My mom would always call me. It's like, make sure you go to church. I did go. Sorry, Mom, I was lying. And then that was once you start a certain habit, it kind of like sticks to you. And so for like a good 8-9 years, you know, I just wasn't really connected to the church. And then, you know, during the time when I left college, I came to California around 2001. This is right after my MBA aspirations had kind of like dissipated, and had to figure life out, what I was going to do with myself. And it really didn't happen until like 12 years ago. To be honest with you, I went through my whole 20s and early 30s, just kind of like a blur, you know, made a lot of money real fast, lost a lot of money real fast. But one defining night, I'll never forget, I was in Hollywood and I was at a club, and it's the funniest thing ever. And I remember going home to my wife and I was telling her what happened. I said, you know, I just came from a club, right? And the club was, I think it was jumping. Like it was a really good night, but everything was in slow motion. I couldn't even hear the music. And then I started to process why I was there. I paid $20 for parking, but I had no money for a drink. I see people popping bottles and all this other stuff. And I'm in here like, I have no money. Like, why am I in the club? I have my wife at home with my, you know, soon to be, you know, newborn son. I mean, I think he was 1 year old. Why am I here?
Right.
And it was like one of those most embarrassing, humiliating moments in my life, to have that self-reflection at that moment.
Right.
And I went home. I don't want to talk about it, but I basically just cried on my wife's, you know, shoulder and just like, man, I'm sorry. Like, I failed you. Like, music career wasn't going good. You know, like everything that depended on my success was for another person to tell me yes. So she made the decision to move from Hollywood, LA area, to Pasadena, California. Of course, I was kicking and screaming. I'm like, what is Pasadena, first of all? And she was from Altadena, so she was familiar with the area. She was born in Altadena. But we moved to Pasadena, and I had nothing. I had to reset everything. I left my old circles, had no money. We were living in the back of somebody's back house, 400 square feet. Mind you, I used to have a Ferrari. We had a couple cars, three cars, nice place. Like, I just lost everything, right? So I'm hiding from the world. And that happened, that lasted only like 2-3 weeks. I started getting on YouTube, getting inspired by certain people, whatever, and a light bulb went off. It said, you don't know enough. You got to educate yourself, re-educate yourself. And so I had this game plan. My wife worked. She allowed me to go to the library for 2 years. And she'll tell you the story verbatim. I went to the library 7 days a week for 2 years. The Pasadena Library. Finance, marketing, advertising, history, politics, storytelling, et cetera, et cetera. You name it. I was reading every single thing I can get my hand on. Taking notes, standing in the mirror, practicing.
Wow.
Right. When I emerged after the 2 years, I created a small little boutique company called Major Media Inc. And the purpose and premise of that company was to start working with small businesses in the community that haven't really acclimated to social media. So creating content, helping them create campaigns and get them sales and get them customers. I charge them $1,000 a month on a 6-month agreement. The goal was to get 20 people. In 2 months, I had those 20 people. I was making $20,000 a month, and my life has never looked back.
Wow.
Made good decisions with our money, invested into my wife, invested into what we do. My son, Carlo, right now, he's 10 years old. He's been investing on the Robinhood app for the last 2 years. The kid has $600K saved up. He's 10.
Nice.
My 4-year-old Lord has a good $70K saved up, but he don't do no work. He's a road rager now. But this is what we've been able to create just by saying, refocusing and getting perspective on our life. Sharing that story as much as I have shared it, you have no idea. Some people's like, man, I'm doing this now. Oh, I'm doing this now. Major, remember what you said? I'm doing this now. I share financial hacks. I have a brand called Majorpreneur. I go around and get paid money to go and speak to small businesses and small groups in different panels talking about how to entrepreneur. A lot of times people say, I'm an entrepreneur, but are you really? Are you making money? Are you living off being an entrepreneur? Well, let me show you a roadmap on how to do it because I've actually done it. And I continue to do it over and over again. And people pay you for that. But I realized when I was doing all the reading, and I don't want to be too long-winded, but the average American reads 0.5 books a year, right? So if you read one book, if you read 5 books on one subject, you are now the professional. People will pay you for your knowledge.
Yeah.
Because you know more than everybody on that subject in the entire room, in the entire state.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I just figured out how to create my own yeses and not be beholden to anyone else's.
Right. So good, man.
And so imagine from a leadership perspective, being able to share that type of philosophy and mindset with an entire state, with an entire country. Speaking from that platform.
Yeah. I've had highs. I have lows. I had to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
I've fallen. I've gotten back up.
Yeah.
I didn't make no excuses. Yeah. Just did it.
Yeah. And we're all a work in progress. One of my guys that are with me, he was hesitant about starting like, a new business. I said, man, go fail. He's like, what? I said, go fail.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Go win or go fail. It's either or is going to happen. But if you don't try, you're not going to get the experience of either.
Yeah. I have a friend like that too. He puts his hands in everything. I said, one of those days, one of those things are going to hit, man.
Yeah.
Because you a hustler. You try this, you try that. One day, man, it's going to happen for you. Because it's just, those are the hustlers that I love.
It's embedded in repetition. And then also your intent. When your intent is in place with the repetition as well too, you're ultimately going to acquire the results that you are looking for, that you're aiming for.
Let me ask you this. I want to be respectful of your time. But black guy growing up in the projects, making it, would you say that America is racist? And I ask you this because I had a young guy ask me about that, and I said, look, man, if we go back 100 years, let's go back 1860.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could say there was a lot of racism. If I go back, let's say I go back to the 50s here, I can tell you stories of my grandfather, my great aunts told me where they had to be escorted out of certain cities in LA at certain times to go back to where they live. Right. And then I say, but now our culture is so intertwined, even interracial couples, it's not a big deal. Like, oh, they love you. Cool. Hey, how's
for
it going?
it. Go
It's
for
not
it.
a big deal,
Go
right?
for it,
I mean, and so do we have bad history in this country? Of course. But is this country more racist than ever? I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And as a guy came from where you come from and worked his way up, what would you say to that?
I don't believe it is, and I always speak against that. I also think that the word racist has been overused, and I give you some context. Sometimes I just might not like you. The person just might not like you. It's not because you're black, white, Chinese, or what. I just don't like you, or they just don't like me.
You don't vibe.
Right. You don't vibe. Because you don't like me doesn't automatically escalate to racist.
Right.
I think it's hyper overused. I think elements of it exist in certain people. Absolutely.
Sure.
There are still instances that happen. Absolutely. Perfect example today. My wife, a police car did a U-turn and followed my wife today. Right. And she was afraid. And he followed her to, and this is in Pasadena where I'm known.
Yeah.
And followed her all the way to my gate, to my house, and slowed down and stood there for a second. And she was like, what is that about? First of all, she's in an unmarked car. She's in a minivan. Right? What's so threatening about a single mom?
I've seen some crazy moms in those minivans.
I know, right? Whipping. Just a mom with her 3 kids.
Right.
You know, minding her own business. You know, so, but we're not saying, oh, he was racist. Like,
right.
Who knows what that was? But in theory, people will automatically, if they hear that story, it's like, oh, he must have been profiling or he must be racist. Right. We don't know. So I don't put myself in a position to assume. America does have a foundation of a lot of hatred, a foundation of a lot of racism in the past. But also it has a foundation of being an amazing place that has allowed so many people to thrive and flourish and to become and to pursue the American dream and also the California dream as well, too. So I always push back when people say America today is so racist. I'm just like, well, today America is overusing that particular term, and I don't believe it to be true, and I don't accept it. When I was running for mayor, a guy asked me a question, and it kind of like he was perplexed about an answer. He asked me if I ever been called the N-word growing up in Texas, because I guess it's Texas, of course. You know, it's cowboys and rednecks out there, right? And I explained to him that I've never had a racial interaction. I've never been called the N-word. But then it goes back to what you said earlier. You know why? Because I never left the hood. You know, we got our own skating ring, our own public park.
I think Lil Wayne said that. Lil Wayne said, he goes, I've never experienced racism. Everybody jumped on him. And he's like, I just never have. Well, what about the police? He goes, the only interaction I had with police, he helped me.
Yeah. Saved my life.
Yeah, saved my life. And I was like,
life.
That's just a legit story, right? Yeah. That's just, I mean.
That's my personal experience. That's my personal perspective. At that point, I had never been called the N-word. I never heard the N-word but once in my life from a white person. This was when I was in college, and that didn't fare well for that guy. You know?
You know what's funny is that we can be for both things, right? We can believe that this country is not racist, but believe there's some racism. Yeah. We can believe in not defunding the police, but we can say, hey, they do need some retraining, right?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
What's wrong with being like on both sides and having an understanding of both sides? Well,
you have to be able to show duality of thought. That's what I tell everyone. Yeah. Like my thought process, I feel like I'm a hybrid. Yes, I'm a Republican, but I'm a little different. Like I'm not with the whole I just have to be this way or I just have to be that way. But I do have a moral compass in regards to my foundation, rules, and values. Right. But I am open to those particular conversations. But I think stubbornly, I think that once I have the right amount of information that could add value to people, I can share it in a way in different rooms and different audiences or one-on-one to where I feel like a good percentage of people, I can propel them to understand why this is good for them or why this is good for all of us. Moving forward. And I think that just comes with my natural ability to be able to do that, which is why I feel like I am the only candidate, especially Republican candidate, that can actually win in California. I'm an anomaly. I don't represent the status quo. I wasn't groomed and cultivated by certain groups or other party members, and that's okay. We are in a different time, but I am open and receptive to receiving their support, their endorsement, their encouragement, their funding,
right?
So we can actually get to work. If you feel like an individual is more suited for it, I'm going to hire that person. But the person that you think they're suited for cannot win an election. They're not electable. The smart guy, that's the attorney, that knows every nook and cranny of the government, that knows the Constitution like the back of their hands, the Bible for every verse or whatever, they don't have the appeal and personality to actually win an election.
Right.
Under the Republican umbrella right now.
Yeah. There's nobody out there.
There's no one out there.
Lastly, let me ask you this, and I got the Furious Five. That's me and Cam's little thing. I'm a construction guy.
Yeah.
I'm a father. I love God. I love my church. Why should a guy like me vote for you?
I think you should vote for me because you have access to me. You have an opportunity to have your voice heard. And the thing about me is that I come in knowing a lot, but I also hang my hat on the fact that I don't know everything. I believe that you have to have a connection with every single type of individuals in different industries, because the information that you get for those so-called complex issues, you just never know if that person or someone like yourself may have that missing link to that piece of the puzzle. And everything that I've done that for my version of success has come from a collaborative effort. So my governing style won't change when it comes to that. And so you truly will see me out with the people. You will see people taking selfies and creating moments and memories and being able to see me breaking ground with many industries. No different than, I'm leaving in a couple of days, to go tour with all our farmers for the third time.
Right.
Going through dairy factories.
People forgot about them.
And almond factory. Their voices are going so unheard. When
right.
I go to the towns, it's kind of like they want to touch me because they don't think I'm real. In a sense that not because I'm some great guy, whatever. It's just that they don't have candidates come and hear them out. They don't have candidates come there to earn their support as well. And so I'm there. I'm surprised that they're surprised, right? But now I get it. Right. These candidates in the past have been lazy, and you'll vote for me because I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to be out here with the people. I'm going to be accessible, and we're going to be able to do some great things together.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that, man. Let me get to mine and Cam's little. Uh-oh. This is the Furious Five, man. It's a little bit different. We ask you 5 questions. Probably nobody's asked you some of these questions, man. So, short answers.
Okay.
Furious. Okay?
All right.
Question number 1. If you weren't an entrepreneur or running for governor, and you could pick any job in the world, what would Major Williams be doing right now?
Landscaping.
Landscaping. Why landscaping?
Running a landscaping company, cutting
Going
yards.
back to when you were 14 years old.
Hard work is therapeutic, man. Hard work is therapeutic, and it's a workout at the same time.
Right? But are you good at it? Because
I am.
You got to be good at that, man.
I am.
Meticulous.
I am. I'm good at delegating too. It won't just be me.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a very good point. I always say good leaders know their limitations, but they know that guy's better than that at me. I'm hiring him. That's what makes a good leader, right? The bad leader is the guy that thinks he knows everything. I can do it all. The good leader
Gavin
is
Newsom.
smart. Right? The good leader says, that guy's better. I'm going to hire him.
Absolutely.
Question number 2. You probably already answered this, but favorite type of music and favorite artist of all time?
Favorite type of music is hip hop and Kanye West.
Kanye West.
Yep.
Can't go wrong with Kanye.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been hating on Kanye. I don't know. Did you go to the Sunday service when they had it at the Forum?
No, I didn't.
We went. Amazing.
Yeah, I went to when he had the Pablo album, and I took my son with me. He was the only kid in the what is the other arena?
Staples.
Not the Staples, the other one. It's in Inglewood. The Forum. Yeah, and that thing was rocking. That's when he had the floating stage and things of that nature.
Oh, man.
So I separate the music from everything else. I
Yeah.
just love the music.
Yeah, Kanye's amazing. I mean, we're a Kanye family right here.
Yeah.
I mean, just forever. I mean, he's fallen off the rocker a couple of times, but we stick by Kanye. We love him. He's a genius, man.
I agree.
Number 3, which I think this would be a great one, and maybe you can help me out because I pass by there a lot of times. But best place to eat in Pasadena.
Best place to eat in Pasadena is off of Washington Boulevard, which is called Millie's Cafe.
Okay.
Yes, amazing food.
Amazing
food.
food?
Owners, amazing ambiance, really great.
A little bit of everything? Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Yep, a little bit of everything. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. You can order it whatever time of day.
All right, I'm going to have to try Millie's one.
Tell the Major sent you.
Maybe they'll give me a discount. All right. You're from Texas.
Yep.
Number 4. Do you own a pair of cowboy boots?
Ask me how many pair of cowboy boots
Really?
I own. Yes.
Man, I see it as being cool. I thought you were going to say no, but a true Texan has cowboy
man.
boots, right?
I have cowboy boots. I
Snakeskin?
absolutely do. Snakeskin.
Gator?
And ostrich
Ostrich.
skin also.
Oh, man. That's what I'm talking about. You legit, man. All right, man. Number 5 in the Furious 5. What is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is being able to identify my weaknesses and being transparent about it. I don't waste time. Time is everything. I don't want to, put my energy into effort to where I have to, fake like I can do it. If that person, especially if I know a person can do it, I'm going to get them involved.
Right.
Yeah.
So good, man.
That's my biggest talent.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming out.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This is going to definitely conclude episode number 15 of the Street Gospel Podcast. I appreciate it.
This is epic. This is epic, man.
Yeah, you came out. I appreciate it. Check this out. Major, you got anything that you want to promote out there that people could find you, look for you, that you want them to check out? Spit it out right now.
Everyone can find me on Instagram at Major Williams. We have an official website as well. It's majorforgovernor.com. You can also find me at Major for Governor 2022 on the Telegram app as well. I'm kind of new on there, but I'm putting up a lot of stuff on there.
I heard about that. People are coming up on that.
Yeah, so you can go and subscribe on there. And on Twitter, it's Major CA Gov.
CA Gov.
Yeah, CA Gov.
It's going to be nice when you win, man, because then I can say I had a legit governor in my house.
Oh, yeah.
In the studio, on the podcast. And then just do me one favor, man.
Yes, sir.
If you make it there, don't forget about Dave One.
Oh, we got to do it again. We got to do it again, man. Come on.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
We out.